Okay, welcome to John Adams and Ross Boyask, the director and editor of The Gentle Sex. Welcome. So we had got this delightful spoof come farce of this vintage sort of relic leftover of World War II. Where does this idea come from, John?
It comes from Dougie Brimson, who Dougie's not in the audience today, is he? Because he said he might come. I don't think Dougie made it. Dougie Brimson and Gary Lawrence. Dougie was the writer of a little film called Green Street about 20 years ago. And Dougie and I are both ex-armed forces. And we wanted to tell a story about, well, first of all, we wanted to write roles for older women who are not represented on screen, and action comedy roles for older women. So this is a proof of concept for a long-form feature, which is about 4 former female ex-SOE spies. But the idea came from Dougie, and it was really about little-known stories from World War II, and the fact that there were all of these young ladies who actually did risk their lives going over to France and other places as spies, and they were all trained up, and they still existed in the community until kind of the early 2000s as grandmas and mothers who'd actually spent the early part of their lives doing that, and nobody really knew because they were all spies. So we thought we'd represent them on screen.
That's fantastic. That was going to be one of my questions. Is it based on truth? And it clearly is.
Yeah.
Ross, your involvement is just as editor?
I was on set.
You were on set?
And
Joan Collins told me.
My claim to fame is that I gave Joan Collins via Percy. A bag of Maltesers.
That's a pretty good claim to fame.
Genuinely, when they say, say like 3 lies about, or 3 truths and 1 lie, I don't know if anyone would ever believe that.
That is the truth.
Yeah, that's totally true.
Okay, so you are editor on the project.
Yeah.
So how much freedom did he give you? And was there a lot of footage, when you made your assembly, did you do that on your own, or was he over your shoulder pestering?
So for those who don't know, John and I have made a number of features together. John normally producing, me directing and editing. And obviously we work very closely, and certainly all the way through production, including the edit. On this one, it was interesting because John was directing, and it was shot in a day, which is, as a lot of people might know, there's a very tight time frame to shoot. I mean, everything you saw there, right? And there was more stuff shot that we didn't put in there because of
not a lot though.
No, not a lot. But to your point of the structure of it, unlike when you shoot a feature or perhaps maybe a longer short film, this was actually quite tightly storyboarded. Like, there was pretty much a shot list, and we pretty much stuck to that all the way through. I think you might have made some changes when we were shooting, but
we did. I think what you saw there was a couple of shots different to what we had in the storyboards going in, and it was really tightly storyboarded because not only did we only have 1 day to shoot it, we only had Dame Joan for 2/3 of that day because she had a dinner engagement that night. So we had to kind of put her in front of the camera and shoot as much footage as possible.
Absolutely. So you just raised a question for anybody and directors out there. You storyboarded it. Is that something you'd like to do? Is that a chosen practice of yours?
No, look, Ross is a much more experienced director than me, but for me, if I'm going to storyboard, I storyboard only sequences that are complex normally. So the last feature I directed, we storyboarded about 3 of the really key sequences. With this, because it was 1 day, so tight, it was less of a storyboard and more of a kind of shot reference where we had visual images next to every setup, so we knew exactly where we wanted the camera to be and what was happening. And a lot of those were images from Home Alone. And several action films that we used as inspiration for it.
Thank you. So you've cast this up-and-coming actress.
So the ingenue Joan Collins.
Why? So as I mentioned, this is proof of concept for a feature, and we attached Dame Joan to play one of the 4. There's the feature's about 4 old ladies living together in a manor house. And very quick premise: the manor house basically is the person who owns it passes away, and a young American inherits the house. and the 4 old ladies are on a grace and favour lease so they can live there for the rest of their life because of their military service. And this American upstart wants them out of his property that he's just inherited, so he tries to evict them. And it really is like a reverse Home Alone situation, like an Ealing farce with these 4 old ladies setting booby traps for the guy who keeps trying to evict them. And Dame Joan obviously signed on for that. We've got a few other names already attached for that as well, some really cool older British actresses. And she very kindly agreed to come and do the proof of concept, which was backed by the BFI as a sales thing to try and raise awareness for the feature.
Yeah, excellent, thank you. So you've already just disclosed you've got a military background. So how accurate was it, what we were seeing?
Completely, yeah. It's all based on fact.
Well, you had the consultant there in terms of the way the guys were.
So actually, genuinely, the guys in that military team are all ex-armed forces veterans.
For real?
For real. Some of them actually quite decorated ex-armed forces veterans. And Cassidy Little, who plays the leader of the team, who, at the end, he lost his right leg below the knee in Afghanistan.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You never know to see him.
Yeah, it didn't grow back though. It's a prosthetic.
No, I know.
So I don't know if anyone's aware, but Ross's taste in movies is incredibly eclectic. Is yours the same, John? And what inspires you?
Oh.
Go on, you could do that.
No, it's your. He asked you. I'm not going to answer for you.
Let's talk about your taste in movies. Are you talking about his action films? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Mine's not the same. So it's a strange thing to say, but having worked on, because I started life in this industry as a military consultant on film. That's what I did for years. And as a result of that, I hate watching action movies because I'd sit there kind of picking holes in what's wrong with them. I don't hate them, but I don't. It's not my first choice.
So what inspires you?
It inspires me telling great stories, and telling. I don't want to preach. I don't want to go on about historical fact, but little unknown stories from history that are interesting and different. And I think that's true of everything I've directed. They've all been based in true stories that most people wouldn't know.
Are you happy to share one or two of your favourite movies?
I mean, completely the opposite to what I just said, Blues Brothers.
Okay, absolutely.
You saying that wasn't a documentary?
No, it wasn't a documentary, no.
And Ross, your inspirations?
Oh my God.
Not directors' movies now.
Not direct. Oh, well, anyone who knows me knows that. Jesus Christ, this is a confession. The 3 films that made me want to make films. Oh dear God. Right, when you ask filmmakers of a certain age what films made you want to make films, right? They're going to say, I don't know, Raiders of the Lost Ark or Jaws, or if they're lying, they'll say Citizen Kane or something like that. For me, I saw 3 movies in one day when I was 11 that changed my life, and they were Revenge of a Ninja, Commando, and American Ninja. And anyone who's seen my films will know that I'm just going to keep remaking those 3 films until they hire me to do it for real.
Thank you for that confession.
Pretty much. I've said it about 1,000 times.
So I'm going to go to the audience and see if they have any questions. Surely someone's...
Uh-oh.
One at the front. Yeah.
So what was it like working with Joan? I mean, she must have so many stories.
She is amazing and absolutely lovely. Really down to earth, really approachable. We bonded over the fact that I produced the last feature film that Robert Vaughan made, and Joan was quite good friends with Robert Vaughan. So we chatted about him and some of their experiences together. She was just really, really made me feel, because obviously going into that situation, knowing I was directing Dame Joan Collins, I wasn't nervous, but I was apprehensive about what that might be. And she made me feel so comfortable and yeah, really, really loved, and everything she did put everybody on set at ease. So she was awesome, is the concept.
Question. Any more questions? There's one over there.
I was going to ask Russ about your events.
Where? Wave.
They are waving.
Oh, you are waving. Hello. Sorry. How you doing?
I was going to ask your experience as a buyer for working distribution. Does that affect how you direct and edit movies at all, or are you quite stick to your taste?
That's a really good question. I'm quite lucky in that one, very lucky. But I'm quite lucky in that my tastes, if we can call it that, as a filmmaker, are commercial. Like, so for anyone who doesn't know, Evolutionary Films, our company, is an international sales agent and UK distributor, as well as making films and stuff. Yeah?
That hasn't changed.
Right, okay. And I'm quite fortunate as a filmmaker who likes to make action films. I'd love to make other things too. I've got a bit of a yen to go into horror and some other bits overall. But I'm quite lucky in that action is, we would call it evergreen as a genre. So when we look to take on movies, whether it's our own stuff or third-party movies, if they're action, we have a pretty good idea of where we can actually put that movie in the market without getting too businessy, everybody. So in terms of my own taste as a filmmaker, if we can use that as a thing, maybe I'm just fortunate that just happens to work mostly internationally as a whole. And that really hasn't seemed to have changed over the last 8 years.
It does affect how we edit, though, sometimes. Because, for example, we'll always, because we know that the buyers, when they watch screeners, have a really short attention span, we'll always make sure that there's something in the first 3 to 5 minutes of a movie that's going to get the buyer's attention. And if it's not there, we'll adjust and it's great to, because quite often we get brought movies that are finished, and it's like, if only we could open this edit up and just move a couple of things around, we could do so much more with this ourselves. So I guess talk to distributors before you lock your edit would be the advice.
Yeah, absolutely. And It just as a slight side anecdote on that, when you attend a film market, like we've just come back from Cannes, for example, if you attend a screening, what we call a market screening, for people who don't know, I tend to look at genre movies for obvious reasons, and it's very easy if you're a first-time filmmaker or some a newbie, dare I say, to film markets, and you were to attend your own screening of your film, you could get quite upset because film buyers will come in for maybe 10 minutes, make some ticks on a checklist and then leave, or not. And it can be quite, if it's your baby and you've worked on it for 3 years, that can be quite distressing. But that is, as John was just saying, if it's an action movie and there's no action for, say, I don't know, let's say 15 minutes, you might have trouble.
Lovely, thank you.
Yeah.
And in fact, I mean, I'm sure it's no accident. If you look at the stats online over the last 25 years, action and adventure far outsells any other genre.
Yeah,
it's global. It really is.
Absolutely global. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, there's one there.
How important are proof of concept films like what we've just seen in trailers for new filmmakers or filmmakers who want to get their work out there and seen by the right people? Is doing a proof of concept the right direction, or should they just concentrate on making scripts and trying to raise funds to get finished?
It's a really good. If I just quickly quickly jump on it. I mean, I think the main reason we were able to make that proof of concept is because the BFI. Unless, correct me if I'm wrong. It's quite rare that we would encourage people necessarily.
I think it depends on the project, because the reason we made this proof of concept is because actually, contrary to all the advice we give to everybody, this movie is a really hard sell. The one of the 4 old ladies in an action comedy, because buyers like stuff that fits in a box and it's an action movie. And so the moment you start changing those parameters and go, it's an action movie with 4 old ladies and it's got comedy in it. So we did this in order to cut through and go, well, look, this could work. We can make an entertaining movie here. Generally, I would say, unless you've got something which is completely out of the ordinary, focus on actually making the film rather than getting funds to do something like that.
A lot of confidence in this concept, in this story.
In terms of the script that Dougie has delivered is outstanding. He's obviously an incredibly good writer. It's funny. It's really smart. It's got some very moving moments in it. We've got a lot of confidence in this as a project. We're still going to face a lot of resistance getting the feature version of this made because the people funding it are taking a risk, and that's the bottom line.
Yeah, but we're very fortunate to have people like Dame Joan who want to actually do it. That really helps too.
Of course,
that really helps.
Right. Anybody else?
I've got a quick one.
One over there, Spence.
I'll ask while I'm walking in that direction.
Filling the gap.
So, if you could cast your 4 ladies from anyone living or dead, who would your dream cast be? Obviously, other than the lovely Joan Collins.
Sylvester Stallone in drag? No.
Jackie Stallone. Jackie Stallone. No. Hilda Ogden. Nora Batty. Surely Hilda Ogden, Nora Batty. Yeah.
Anybody living or
Pat
dead?
from EastEnders.
Yeah, or Dot Cotton from
It'd be
EastEnders.
amazing! That would actually be amazing.
Felicity Kendall from The Good Life.
She's still amazing now.
You did ask for that, Spence.
I don't know.
No. That's a sensible question.
That was a good question.
What percentage of the budget did you have to spend to get Joan Collins?
Okay, that's actually it's a great question, but for this, it's sort of not. It's not really a question I can answer on the basis that she did this in order to try and leverage getting the feature film made. So we didn't pay Joan Collins her usual expectation of what her daily rate would be for this project. And we have a deal with her for what she's going to get paid when the feature goes ahead, and she did this very kindly for much less. It was still a chunk of money, of course, because we did pay her, but it wasn't a big proportion of the budget we had for the film.
Anybody else?
Anyone who wants to know, Percy's lovely.
Percy is lovely.
Just super quickly. I didn't know who Percy was. For anyone who knows who Percy is, and when I talked about we filmed with Joan Collins, and I gave this guy Percy. Percy? People were raving about Percy. He's a stand-up dude. For real.
What advice would you give in order to get a named actor or actress on board for films like this?
For feature films?
Feature film, short film, any kind of project. Low budget filmmakers who don't have much to work with.
It's really tough. It's one of the hardest things that we as an independent industry face at the moment is that talent, A-list talent that actually means anything at box office or to streamers is being very rapidly taken out of our grasp by the CAAs and WMEs and Gershes and the streamers. But they're all tied up with agents, and with the agents they're tied up with, it's money that talks. So, I mean, it's be passionate about your project, have something that's appropriate to them that they're going to love. Unless the role is right for them. So you've got to pick the right actor for the right roles and offer them something they're really going to want to do. But cutting through that is really difficult. And our recent experience is that, unfortunately, the only way really to get really big level talent attached is to go back by cash. And that's really hard for independent filmmakers to do. Sorry. I have no positive news on that one.
Are we done? Excellent. Thank you. I've got one more question for both of you. Codename Azrael.
Oh my God.
Which is your next movie, I believe.
Yes.
Could you just give us a little taste for it?
Go on,
am I allowed to?
Yeah.
All right. I don't know. Okay, so it is another action film surprise. Filming later this year. We've got some really great pictures. Can I talk about? I don't know. What can
you could say anything that we've got in the public domain.
Oh, I see. Good. Okay, great. So for me as a director, it's really exciting because it's a step up budget-wise with Wunderbar John producing, of course. And it's a men on a mission movie. So sort of thing. I dare to say Dirty Dozen type movie, intergenerational. About a fictional island country that's been taken over by a mad dictator. And our team of heroes goes in to save it. I'm really underselling the movie.
You are there.
It's all right. It's actually quite good, I think. And we have...
He does this in sales meetings as well, right? Yeah, this one.
What's your film like? It's all right. Just, it's all right. Oh, God. No, so we have... we've worked a number of times now with Stu Bennett, who, for anyone who doesn't know, WWE Wade Barrett, who's awesome. He's coming back. If any of you know martial arts actors of any description, we have Gary Daniels, Don the Dragon Wilson, Cynthia Rothrock, and the up-and-coming Jean-Paul Lee, who is fantastic. We also have Eric Roberts, and that's very exciting too. Yes. More news to come?
Yeah, we have one more role to cast, and we are out to some bigger names for that.
Yeah.
In a way that basically we're trying to line up the finances in order to back the cash offers to the agents in order to get the big name in.
It's all going to get very businessy.
At the point of, it's a game of spinning plates to get that bigger name in, but hopefully we can do that.
But it's exciting. Don't take my to it. No, it's exciting. It's really exciting. Really exciting.
It is actually quite good.
I want there to be a review on the poster. It's actually quite good.
Said the filmmakers.
In fact, The Guardian on the last one gave us a 2-star review, but everything in review said it was 3 stars, which I thought was really funny. I thought it was really sweet.
We actually used quite a few quotes from The Guardian because they were really positive about it, and then went 2 stars.
2 stars, like whatever. Yeah. It's quite fun. I liked that a lot. So,
cool. Are we done?
Let us go.
John, Ross, thank you so much for letting us show your movie and for answering these questions so candidly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.